Wasabi Wallet. Unfairly private.
The Lightning Network has enabled a lot of innovations, and one such innovation is the idea of podcasting 2.0, being able to stream Bitcoin, aka sats, directly to content creators per minute. We're going to be taking a look today at how to do this in two aspects. One, as a listener, how can you start paying directly to content creators via podcasting 2.0 using various wallets and podcast apps so that you are streaming Bitcoin directly to the creators and bypassing middlemen? And two, as a content creator, how can you begin to upload your podcast in a way that allows you to accept an incoming stream of sats and be rewarded directly for your work? I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.
Now, before we get started, of course, shout out to sponsors of the show, LEDN.io, where you can use your Bitcoin for a variety of different services. Of course, they have their Bitcoin-backed loans, so if you're in a pinch and you need to get your hands on dollars, but you don't want to sell your Bitcoin because that's a taxable event and you're worried about having to buy back in at a higher price, you can use their service to deposit Bitcoin, get dollars to your bank account within 24 hours, and when you pay back those dollars, you get back the same number of sats. They, of course, also have their savings accounts with Bitcoin and USDC, interest rates of up to 8.5% annually paid monthly, and they've got their B2X offering if you're feeling mega bullish. Links are down below, and if you click that link and opt to get any of their loan products, they'll give you $25 for free into your savings account. Now, if you're stacking sats in Canada, Bitbuy is a super easy and convenient way to do it. Their web interface is very sleek. They've got a dedicated mobile app for iOS and Android, and after your first purchase of $250, they'll give you $20 for free. Not bad. Be sure to check them out. Links are down below. Now, I do live on Bitcoin, and one of the things that really helps me with this is Bitrefill, because I can get any gift card I imagine for Bitcoin, either on-chain or using the Lightning Network, which is the topic of today's video. I do this all the time. Super easy. You can get on here, and the bonus here is that you earn sats back as you shop, and they have a pretty killer referral program. So if you've got friends and family that are interested, you can get some awesome kickbacks from that as well. Be sure to check them out. Links are down below. Now, you guys know the Keystone Wallet. This is one of my favorite and most used hardware wallets. It is 100% air-gapped, meaning you never plug it into anything internet connected, which keeps the keys to your money safe and offline. They've got a secure element, Bitcoin-only firmware you can upgrade to, and it works interoperably with all of my favorites like Blue Wallet, Sparrow, Spectre, Wasabi, all of that stuff. It's also pretty badass in a multi-sig setup. Check them out. Links are in the show notes. And finally, if you're backing up any important Bitcoin wallet, do yourself a favor and get it in solid steel with the bill fodder over at privacypros.io. This saves you from, I would say, the mistake of storing important information on paper, because that opens you up to fire damage, water damage, or somebody you know accidentally discarding the thing if they aren't familiar with what it is and the importance of it. I've heard some horror stories. Get yourself some peace of mind and grab yourself a bill fodder. Links are in the show notes. And with that, let's dive into the video. So as I was saying before, you can now stream sats directly to content creators and their podcasts, or you as a content creator can receive Bitcoin directly per minute if you have podcasts up and upload it, and you have to go through a few steps here. Now, for the bulk of this video, I will be deferring to this as it relates to Breez Wallet, which is available for iOS and Android. But by no means is this the only route you can go to be streaming sats. In fact, I will give a little demo of another example that you can use. But if you're unfamiliar with Breez just as a Lightning wallet itself, I do have a full tutorial on how to use it that will be in the show notes for you to check out if you choose to. Now, there are some other prerequisites here if you start diving down the rabbit hole of actually getting paid in sats for your work here. And there are some videos that you can check out for that as well, just to get this out of the way. First of all, if you're wanting to set up your own Lightning node, or first off, your own Bitcoin node, I did a video on how to set up Umbrel, which is a super easy to use interface, and you just have a little dedicated Raspberry Pi computer sitting on your shelf there, and it would just run in the background all the time. So I have a full tutorial on that. I have a full tutorial on how to actually set up your own Lightning node on this machine and get inbound and outbound liquidity so that sats can flow freely to you, and you can link this up with your podcast. And finally, I will be demonstrating and kind of showing the stream of sats coming into my wallet remotely, and I will be using Zeus just to demo that. So if you want to check out a video on how Zeus works and how you can connect it to your wallet, all of that is down below. But if those extra steps, particularly the node stuff, is not up your alley, just know there is an easy paid option that you can get if you don't want to be self-hosting all of this as well. Okay, and with that, let's take a look first at how you as a listener can stream sats to the podcasts that you love using Breez. So here I am in Breez Wallet, and when you first boot up the app, and if you've used it before, you'll see your typical balance, dollar balance below, previous transactions, send and receive, scan button, all of that stuff, which I covered in my Breez tutorial. However, if you go to the top left, there's a little wallet icon, and you can tap. That opens up a side menu. And now on the side here, you can see podcasts. And we're going to tap on that. This takes you to your podcast section of the Breez app. And here you'll see any podcast that you've favorited in a feed. That will be your library, also denoted down below. There's all the tabs. You can hit the Discover button, and there you can see random podcasts brought up, or you can search for a specific podcast. You can click on New. This will give you any new stuff that has popped up, any new episodes, podcasts, anything like that. And then obviously you can download the podcast for listening on the go. Now, when you go into a particular podcast, so we'll take a look, we'll tap on mine here. You will see all of the episodes. You'll have options to follow if you have not currently followed that person. You can download episodes. You can play episodes. Let's take a look at what happens when we start to play an episode. So this is a most recent one that I've done as of recording this video, which was a plebnet takeover with a bunch of excellent Lightning peeps. If you haven't heard it, go ahead. Plebnet guys are awesome, and they explain a lot of the innovation happening in and around Lightning, including stuff like this. So I'm going to hit play, and I want to show you guys, and I'm going to pause it here for a second, what we see on the screen. Again, we see the episode we're listening to. You can click to the right and see show notes and links and all of that kind of stuff. You can skip ahead and forward, all the regular kind of podcast, little settings. You can change the speed at which you listen, so on and so forth. But at the bottom, this is the difference between this and a regular podcast app. What you see below is two things. There's a boost button, and there is a sats per minute button. And so what this does is automatically, whatever you set your sats per minute, down at the bottom here too, every minute of consistent listening through the podcast will send an individual transaction for that amount to this podcast host. So right now I have mine set to sats per minute of 10, but you can just bump it up by whatever you like. You can tap and enter a custom amount if you choose to, so on and so forth. Now, what is this boost button over at the side? Well, you can enter a custom amount there, you can bump it up, and this is a larger amount. It's set to 5,000 currently, but you can play around with that and change it however you like. And so if it gets to a certain point in the podcast where you hear something that you really like, you're going, oh, damn, that was a great soundbite. You just hit that boost button, and you will give 5,000 or however many sats is sitting here in the boost option directly to that podcast host for that moment in the show. And they will actually at some point be able to look back and see, depending on the app, be able to see at what point you did that. So then they know, oh, that's something that people liked. I need to do more stuff like that. So really, really cool features here. Let's just take a look. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit in this episode, and I'll just let it play so that there's a couple minutes. I'll skip ahead in the playing just so you don't have to sit here and watch/listen secondhand. But I'm going to play. And as this is playing in the background, it's keeping track of how much I'm actually listening. And every minute, it will give 10 sats per byte to me via Lightning Network. And at the end, I'll hit that boost button as well. So we'll just wait a few minutes here. We'll skip ahead and then I'll give a boost.
A few moments later.
So now that this has been playing for a couple minutes, I can see there's a little confetti, just as I said that, some confetti going in the background, meaning a payment was made. Oh, there's the other ones. Okay, so basically it ran for about 3 minutes and there were a couple payments there. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to do a boost that sends additional sats. Let's say I just heard something that I really loved, and I'm going to hit the boost button down on the bottom left. Boom, boost. Okay, so that means that an additional 5,000 sats minus routing fees has been sent to this podcast host, aka me, which we'll be able to actually see on my node momentarily. So before we take a look at what it looks like for the content creator, I just want to show you one other example of an app like this because, as I said, Breez is not the only one you can do this through. So this is another podcast app called Fountain. And once you're set up for streaming sats via your podcast, you will be listed and able to stream sats from any of these options. And you as a listener can go to any of these options that have this enabled, and we'll touch on which ones do momentarily. But effectively, same kind of thing. I'll just get out of my podcast here, but you have some general functionality. You have this app is interesting because you can actually go and make a clip of a particular podcast and share it, and people can then stream sats because of that particular clip or listen to it and then subscribe to that podcast. So it's almost more of a social interaction on top of regular podcasting. And so you have clips in your feed here. You have actual podcasts. You have you can subscribe to various shows and look at the various episodes. You do have a profile here. I haven't fully set it up here. But when you start listening to an episode, similarly, you have sats per minute and just below the name of the episode. So you can tap on that and adjust it. And you can also adjust the boost. So this boost in particular is set to 500 by default. The sats per minute is still set to 10. And you can also set a message regarding who it's from or whatever you choose, or you can just leave that blank, but it doesn't really matter. Either way, same thing. If I were to hit play here, and this is from an episode that I did a couple weeks ago with a number of great people, Bitcoin Meme Hub, Jan Kapik, or Jan, I apologize, Bitcoin Mechanic, and Max Hillebrand. Awesome discussion, but I'll let it play a little bit. Again, we'll jump forward in time so that a couple payments go through, and then we'll do a boost here so that we can then head over to my node and see what that looks like. Once again, after letting it run for a couple minutes so that hopefully a couple 10 sat payments have gone through, I'm going to hit this button just below, and this allows me to boost for 500 sats. I'm going to tap that button. And there we go, some confetti. Transaction has gone off. We can pause that. We'll get out. We're going to take a look at what that looks like in terms of what it would look like on my node coming in. So I have an app here called Zeus that is linked to my Lightning node. I do have a full tutorial on that, as I said before, but I will tap there and we will refresh and see what's up on my node. So here in Zeus, I'm just going to tap on invoices, and we can see, let's see, there's incoming for around 495 sats, about 40, between 47 4800 sats, 9 sats, 8 sats, another 500 there. So what I'm seeing here is those streamed payments that came through. Now, of course, with every one of these, if you're interested in the technicals of it, there's a small routing fee whenever you send a Lightning payment. So, you see something for 9 sats. I know it was 10 sats that I was paying through my app, but 1 sat of that went to the routing fee. In the instance of the 500 sat boost, I can see there was a 5 sat routing fee, but it can vary depending on the route that it finds. Regardless, I am seeing sats coming straight through into my node. And if I go down here, I can see, 10, 1, let's see, lots of little payments coming through. 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. This is somebody that was just listening straight through a podcast, and it was just streaming sats directly to my Lightning node. And so I can see these little payments come through. They come through as what's known as a key send transaction. So I don't need to be creating invoices and doing all that technical stuff in the background. People just send directly to my Lightning node, and I receive it direct from the listener, direct to the content creator. And this is some of the great innovation happening in Lightning. So now that we've seen how to actually stream sats to a content creator, let's see how you, as a content creator, can receive sats. So first up, you're going to want to find a place where you're actually going to be uploading your podcasts. For myself, I found it easy to use Anchor. I just kind of use this, and it goes out to a bunch of different podcast platforms automatically. But then you're going to, with the information from your Anchor podcast or wherever you happen to upload, you're going to use that information to get all signed up to make sure that you are getting Lightning payments for people that choose to use your podcast that way. So there's a couple of things within Anchor, if you're using it, that you want to make sure of. Number one is that the email address that is associated with your account is one that you can access. It's obviously very, very important. But also within Anchor, you want to make sure there's a little setting, and this is found in the settings in the top right, in update settings, and then there's some advanced settings that you can go into. When you scroll down, you want to make sure that it says display personal email address publicly in our RSS feed. And this is because by default, Anchor will associate just a dummy email account with your podcast unless you specify this little option here. Otherwise, you won't get the confirmation email to be set up to be streaming sats. So just keep that in mind as you are doing this. If you're using Anchor, it may not be the case on other podcast platforms if you upload elsewhere. Okay, so now that we're done with the Anchor stuff, if you've already got a podcast, then maybe you're already set up here. You're going to want to go and head over to podcastindex.org. And you're going to search for your own podcast. Now, I've already gone through the steps of setting up Lightning for my podcast. So in order to see what that looks like, I need to search another podcast that has not yet done that. Maybe I'll encourage them to do it by showing this. But smart people shit. Dennis Porter. Dennis is a friend of mine. I have known him for some time, got to hang out with him at Bitcoin Miami. And it seems like so far, he hasn't been streaming sats to his podcast. Since Dennis is not currently apparently signed up to receive streaming sats yet, he has this little lightning icon, and this is going to port you over to another website. So you're going to be claiming this feed on podcasterwallet.com. So I'm going to tap that lightning icon just so you can see what it looks like. Now, if you didn't have an account on podcasterwallet.com yet, it would prompt you to do so or to log in if you did have one. I'm currently logged in. So once you log in, this is what you'll see. Minus down below, you can see my podcast is already listed there. If it wasn't, that would mean obviously I hadn't claimed any podcasts yet. What you end up doing is you hit the add button here and it says claim podcast. You need the podcast feed URL, which is the URL up top, this one here, for the podcast that you searched on Podcast Index. So I would copy that right there and I would paste it here. Now, obviously, I'm not going to claim Dennis's podcast. I wouldn't be able to because I don't have access to the email associated with it. But you would type that in there and you would hit OK. And then it would continue on and ask you a few other questions. It would be at this point that they're going to ask you for a public key, a node public key. Okay, and I'm just going to show you what that would look like. I'll just edit here, but it's a public key that looks something like this, and this is associated with a Lightning node. And this is where you have some options. You can see there's a little clip of information down below here. You can see my node public key right there. This is where you have some options. Option number one is you run your own Lightning node. And you set up liquidity, you do all of that. I talked about this earlier, setting up something like a Bitcoin Umbrel node and then going through and setting up your Lightning node on it. I have a full tutorial on how to do that via ThunderHub. However, you may just be interested in getting the payments and you don't want all of the extra work to do that. One option is to go ahead and let Voltage, voltage.cloud, do that for you. And they effectively will run and manage a node for about $18 a month. If you think that to be worth it, if you believe you have the following that this fee would effectively be covered between sats per minute and the boosts that you would be getting, or maybe you just want to try and see, you can go ahead and sign up here. They'll run it all for you and set you up, and you can enter that information with the pub key there. However, if you want to run this all yourself, you can go and use something like Umbrel or MyNode or Start9 Labs. There's a lot of different node implementations to choose from so that you can be running your own Lightning node and then associate it with your podcast. And I can see this is my node over on a website called 1ML. You can look it up, and it has my pub key right up here. Okay, so I want to show you on Umbrel where to find that information if you opt or if you have already set up your own Lightning node. So let's jump over to that. So I'm currently on my Umbrel node, albeit from afar. I am doing this remotely via Tor, and I have my own little Umbrel node running on a Raspberry Pi sitting at home across the ocean. So it's really cool that I can even access this from afar. But let's take a look at where to find that node public key, or that Lightning node public key. There's two different places actually, but over on the left hand side, if you click on Lightning, you'll be brought to your Lightning node here. You can then click on the three little dots and you're going to hit Lightning address, and this shows your public key right there, which there's even a little copy button that you can click on. Now, alternatively, you can find it in another place. You can go to apps, and this is the app that I used to set up my Lightning node and did the full tutorial on setting up channels, ThunderHub. And once you're in ThunderHub, simply just scroll down a little bit and you'll see public key right there, and that is the node information that they are requesting from you. You simply paste that in when they ask for it, and that's it. Easy peasy, done. Once you've filled in all of the information that Podcast Index and Podcaster Wallet requires of you, it can take up to 24 hours for this to all roll out and be visible on various platforms. Sometimes less, sometimes more, but just be patient. Once it's up, anybody will be able to stream you sats direct from their podcast app of choice, as long as it has that option enabled. Now, we used Breez in the example before, but there are a number of others that are available to do this. And they even list them here on podcastindex.org. If you scroll down a bit, there's new podcast apps. You can click that and it'll take you here. And there's a listing of all these different podcast apps. Now, not all of them have yet implemented streaming sats, though I imagine more and more will want to. To know which ones can stream sats, you can scroll down and you're looking for the supported elements part here, and you're looking for the word value. So anyone that has value listed as a supported element means that you can stream sats. So I can see here, Podfriend has it, Fountain, which I showed you guys, Sphinx Chat, Breez. There's a bunch of them that have the value option set up. Zion is another one. And just scroll down, take a look through, find the one, Satoshi Stream, there's another one. And I imagine more and more of these will start implementing it, but already I just listed 4 or 5 that you can try out depending on what you're using it on. And just start. Let people know. Tell people, hey, use this app, use Breez. I really enjoy using Breez to stream sats. And Fountain is cool in that you can clip up and share little pieces and sound bites from pods. But regardless, if you get set up, tell people. Say, hey, my pod is on this platform. You can go there. You can stream me sats if you prefer to do it that way. And I encourage you all, if you have a favorite pod, there's no shortage of good podcasts that are listed on these apps that are also enabling streaming sats. So I encourage you to get a podcast app that allows this. And if you find something you really love, then be sure to stream them some sats if they've already turned on that feature. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, if you're here on YouTube, please do hit like, subscribe, and share. All of those things really help get this content in front of more eyeballs. If you want to help out the show in another way, you can hit up the previously mentioned sponsors down below. That was LEDN, that was Keystone, that was Bitrefill, Bitbuy, and PrivacyPros.io. And if you really liked what you saw, you can hit me up with a Bitcoin tip at my strike.me page. That is strike.me/BTC sessions. When you get there, you can type in any amount you like. When you hit the tip button, you'll be greeted with a Lightning invoice, or if you click to the right, a regular Bitcoin QR code. And finally, if you want, you can always stream my Why Are We Bullish episodes or my news episodes via Breez, and you can stream sats there if you like. With that, I'm out. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening wherever you may be, and I'll see you guys next time for your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.